Good evening to Hello and good evening to Dr. Adi. My name is Najlaa Aina binti Zainal Abidin, and I would like to present on my article critique, which is called Influence of Technology on English Language and Literature. This article was written by Laila Al-Shaki from King Abdulaziz University, which is from Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. And the other author is Irun Said Abasi from San Jose State University, which is in California, USA. This article was published on 9 June 2020 by the Canadian Centre of Science and Education. This article research type is more to explanatory based, which means there's no data collection or anything. It's just a mere observation. Now, the theme of the study is technology and literature in modern day and the influence of technology on language in digital literature. Next would be the background of the study. So this journal article was published on 9 June 2020 by Laila Al-Shaki and Irun Said Abasi that was mentioned earlier. For the purpose of the study of literature through technologies, which is a type of philology that is directed more towards literary studies. On the other hand, this research is also a study into the latest ways of creating literature in the internet or with the latest technologies. Hence, the term digital literature is born. But however, there are concerns regarding the challenges brought in this research. Furthermore, this article implies that literature and technology are forever evolving in the 21st century. That produces like various slangs, dialects, and new adaptation of style. The authors also mentioned that technology influences how people think, write, and communicate in social media as well. But that could also possibly mean a new literary genre, such as like science fiction, mini fiction, mobile phone fiction, and many more. So the problem statement in the article was the explanation of why technology has become an influence on literature and how technology could actually distract people, most particularly students, which may affect the use of language. Now, the objective of this study is to analyze the role of literature and the literary discourse in the contemporary era of media. Furthermore, this article review will involve a heavy discussion on the interconnection between literature and media and how it changed the people's perception of the new type of literature. Now, despite the flaws that come with technology, literature is accessible to everyone. So another objective of this study is to analyze how digital literature or cyber literature, which is a new term, emerged and how it will affect physical publication. So in addition, the author implies that social media has influence on people's use of language and vocabulary due to the fact that social media changes how people think and write. Next would be the literature review. So the concern for the production of digital literature has grown rapidly in the age of internet, and therefore the physical print literature like books, novels, magazines and whatnot would soon decrease in terms of demand. Like in the next 50 years, it might change. But however, it fail to mention the reason for the decline of literary culture, where people would read less due to the modern era of literature, which is the digital literature itself. Moreover, the author actually mentioned that the media has taken a toll on students like us and how it influences the use of language. The author also mentioned that new genres have been produced and modified after the age of internet. Therefore, these genres can be found in only in digital literature. Next would be the methodology. For this study, this research explained the effects of digital literature and English language quite clearly, but it mainly focuses on the possible effects of digital literature. Despite mentioning that there are various discussion areas that contributed to literary problems or issues that focus on specific texts. So the article's purpose is to inform the communities that the role of technology affects the language. Affects the language they use and how they are able to modify the language itself. So the modified language can also affect the literature, especially in social media or a term called digital fiction. So based on the article, these are my findings. So the author focuses more on the main important basis on technology, and throughout the article, they elaborated how technology has become a common subject in this day and age, which is the result of a new literary genres. But they fail to mention the details of these new literary genres that have become popular as of late, like Twitter fiction, which has become quite popular these days, which was mentioned by Barnard 2016. So the internet has become the greatest influence on language because it's constantly changing and modified. So depending on the community's geographical region, the use of English language can actually differ. So how did they use the language, especially in social media and literature? The choice of words are like either simple or complex. For example, in student communities in literature field, they tend to use English language more complex and detailed. So my perspective of this article, I can say that the information of so the strength and weakness for this article is that the strength of this article is the detailed information of the definition of digital literature, the concepts and the effects of this type of literature on physical literary works. The progression of digital literature has become the most important aspect in everyone's daily lives. So the author pressed on why this literature had become so popular in recent years, because it consisted of different components like digital publishing, scholarly literary works, and also writing for digital media. But for the weaknesses, it's quite minimized considering there are less flaws in this particular article. The author also failed to mention that the advantages and disadvantages of cyber types of digital literature. Therefore, the research was a little less substantial due to the fact that there was not much details about the possible effect of technology and media that influences the language in the upcoming years. Like, for example, the youth have adjusted themselves in technology, and therefore they come up with new kind of vocabularies which can affect literature. So in my opinion, I think that the information given in this article is transparent in terms of elaboration, but the examples given in the article was not sufficient enough. Therefore, I believe that this research requires more observation in the environment before conducting this research. But I also believe that this information is accurate due to the fact that technology do influence English language and literature. For instance, that the author did mention that technology provides students with essential learning tools that facilitate cooperative learning, offer exciting alternatives for developing language skills through experimentation, which was mentioned by Ahmadi in 2018. So what they're trying to say is that technologies are a tool for students to encourage themselves to experiment languages through literature as well. So my recommendations for the future researchers is that the researcher or the authors have given sufficient amount of information about the influence of technology on English language and literature. But at the same time, the researcher could have embedded a conflict of severe issues that affects the outcome of the research. But I also believe that the researchers should implement a survey for participants to analyze the data regarding the topic. So to conclude my views on this article, I would like to suggest the future researchers to analyze the usage of technology in digital literature. And that is all for me. Thank you very much.